Ever since I moved my Makeover colony into their formicarium about a year ago, it has slowly been getting worse. Just like my monthly channel views. The plants have been gradually dying back and withering, and now it looks like this. There. I believe a few different things contribute to it being so damn ugly. Number 1, the dirty ant kit nest at the center of the setup. That's actually quite easy to deal with. I just need an Allen key to take it apart. An Allen key which I have conveniently kept separate from all of the other Allen keys, just so specifically in this moment I could use it. Yeah, I didn't do any of that. I guess we're on to trial and error now. Nope. Nah. Yes. I'll leave the workers to evacuate the brood before taking out the nest for cleaning. That gives me some time to think of what I can do to rejuvenate the setup.
2 hours later.
Yeah. I've got nothing. Hold on, I think I know who can help. Today, for the very first time on this channel, I am welcoming another ant-keeping YouTuber. The man, the myth, the guy with both arguably the best planted formicarium of any ant-keeping creator, and significantly more subscribers than me. He has that too, yeah. Anyway, there's a motorcycle outside. Anyway, over to AntScapes.
What's up guys, Ryan from AntScapes. So the first thing I want to do is just thank Urban Antkeeper for having me on his video and for considering me on natural setups. If you guys haven't followed me, make sure you go and follow my channel, because this is literally, to me, it is, I love natural setups, love making bioactive setups, but I won't go into detail on that. I'm going to give you some top tips that have worked for me when keeping ants in natural setups, and you know, things that I've actually maybe it's failed on as well, because I want to let you know stories that how I failed, what I didn't do, how making a setup for the next time, having them mistakes helped me, because I think, okay, it's good and well me telling you a certain thing, because okay, that might work for me, but you always have to remember something else actually that doesn't work for me might work for you. Okay, so the first thing I want to touch upon is soil choice and plant choice. And the reason I'm pointing these two out at the same time is because they do run in conjunction with each other. What plants are you keeping? Are those plants that like arid environment? Do those plants like water retention or built up water in the soil? Do they like you know, high humidity? Things like that. And will that soil retain the humidity? Will that retain the moisture you need? Will it have enough aeration? Will it have enough air to, you know, that's adequate enough for the roots as well? Because if you have a plant, something like orchid, we'll just go with orchid because it's one that requires very aerated roots. Generally, you'll keep that on bark because it is, you know, generally in nature, they'll be attached or clinging onto a tree or something. So are you going to keep that in constantly wet soil? Then you need to start thinking about these things. So soil. Will it hold moisture? Will it retain humidity? Will it have enough aeration for the moisture to go down? And again, it kind of drainage layer in a sense, but every bioactive setup will have a drainage layer. Either way, it should always have a drainage layer. In my opinion, it's always crucial, or one of the most important things too. But again, plant choice. What plants are you keeping in there? Can you keep native plants that you would have in England with a Rugonodes setup? If not, Rugonodes like high humidity. So I knew I could get away with tropical plants because, generally speaking, tropical plants like high humidity. So that's why I was able to do that. But these are the sort of things you need to research. And it literally takes 2 minutes just to Google trade censure requirements on this plant, blah, blah, blah. This is how it likes, this is how often you should water it, etc. And then try and mirror that with all the rest of the plants you get, so all of them are the same. I did make some mistakes myself as well, and this is another point. How big is that plant going to grow? How broad will that plant grow? Well, I've added a few monstera in here, And for those of you who keep tropical plants, you'll know that Monstera are massive plants. So what I've had to do is constantly cut that plant down every single week for 7 months. And to me, I don't mind because it's quite therapeutic. I enjoy doing it. It's what I do, it's my hobby. So it's not as bad, but if you're in this way, you've got a lot of setups. I know people can keep hundreds of queens at a time, I don't know how you do it. I really don't. I've got however many setups and they're okay for me for now, but I've got myself into a routine. But just make sure you know the requirements of the plants, what soil they like and need, and again, humidity levels, things like that. So just do your research. Make sure you make that side successful, because you'll tend to find that the rest of it will just boom. Here, for example, Trade Centre likes tropical environments, which is situated right next to English ivy. Trade Centre isn't native to the UK, English ivy is, and they're growing both just as good as each other. So just do a little bit of research. What are the light requirements? What's the soil requirements? And what I would say, if you're unsure about light requirements, just get anything that doesn't need a high amount of light, but also won't burn if it has a lot of light too. Because then what you can do, you can get away with having a powerful light to grow all the other plants, but then having a plant that will be fine growing with the rest of them, because it'll also grow at the same rate. The next thing I want to touch up on is cleanup crew. So make sure you've got your springtails, earthworms, isopods, millipedes, anything like that inside that's going to get rid of that mold, rid of that fungus, because nothing worse than doing all of that and then you get a massive mold spot and you end up having to move them out. You've collapsed the tunnels, you've potentially killed the queen, and generally species like Ruginotis won't actually go into soil that's friable. So what they'll do is they'll actually find soil that's already compact. So make sure you, again, goes into soil choice, make sure you're getting soil that'll stay compact, retain that humidity and moisture for that species as well. But that's definitely another thing. I'd say cleanup crew is super important. And there's also nothing worse than making a setup, having plants that are too big, having soil that doesn't work, not having a cleanup crew to get rid of mold and having to move the colony out again, ruining that colony, potentially killing the queen and the rest of the colony. So just make sure you do your research on that side. Well, thank you again for having me. Can't thank you enough. And as always from me, peace and love. I'm out.
Thank you so much to AntScapes for those quick tips. His channel is linked up there. Now, let's put them into action. To make this setup start to look good, I need to remove all the wax paper, musty, crusty old mealworms, these clumps of soil with this strange fungusy stuff on, and dead leaves from old plants. Now that all the crusty, musty, dusty, fusty bits have been removed, let's water the whole setup. Look how many Myrmica workers are swarming out of their nest. Let's give them some mealworms to feed on. It's gonna be a big day tomorrow.
Early the next morning.
Early in the morning, I went out and collected some mosses, which I will now put inside the setup. I managed to film myself putting one tiny slab of moss in, but not the rest, because I'm exceedingly stupid. Sorry. Onto the plants that I'll be putting in here. Here's a begonia that I have accidentally been propagating in my springtail culture tub. This all started when I took a cutting from my begonia plant and decided to try and feed it to my springtails. But since they never actually tried to break it down, it just grew inside there and is now a very healthy looking plant. Then I took a few cuttings of Photonia plant from one of my terrariums, since it was looking a little bit overgrown. Before planting them, I needed a little bit of soil right here in the back. It might be just a tad too much, but we can work with it. This is fine. Unfortunately, the soil covered over quite a bit of moss, but I can go in with some more moss later on. I used a pencil to create a few different holes to put the plants into. Then I just pushed the Photonia cutting into these holes, and then used my fingers to squeeze the soil around the plant cutting so that they don't fail to root. Unfortunately, the footage of me planting the begonia got corrupted, but I can show you what the setup looks like a full week later. I want to add in some more cuttings of another plant, so let's prepare the setup by watering it everywhere, so I can pick which place I want to put the plant in. I struggled a bit finding a place to put the plant, but eventually I found a good spot. I think that these two plants really bring the whole setup together. And yes, even though there has been a little bit of dieback with some of the plants, the setup definitely looks a whole lot better than it used to. And it's only going to get better as these plants grow up and the moss roots itself properly into the soil. And with that said, if you enjoyed this video or you learned something, then like and subscribe. If you didn't, then don't, and I'll see you in the next video. You can go now. Oh, you want me to play the outro first? Okay, I'll play it and then you go. Okay.